Welcome back to Face in the Crowd. We are chatting with entrepreneur Thabiso Mahlape. Now, Thabiso, you're in the publishing industry, and we do know that it does suffer from a lack of diversity in so many aspects. You know, from your experience, what are some of those contributing factors in this day and age, for that matter?
You know what? I think so. When we gained freedom, like we did, and there were talks and moves to transform many an industry. Like I said, when I studied engineering under Eskom, is because, you know, a lot of corporates at that time were making it was part of their strategies to, you know, get young black people into science at that time when I did matric. So I think because reading and books are seen as something of leisure, something of luxury, you know, that somehow it's a sector that was forgotten about, which resulted in the sector remaining very white. So when I came into the publishing industry, it was a very white industry. So I arrived, and so the people that were being published were white. I mean, there was like a handful of black writers that one knew at that time, but you also got the feeling that those people were like handpicked. You know, you're like, okay, we'll make this one a star. Or,
tokens.
Yeah, that's what it felt like to me. And also just like in terms of marketing, just the people whose voices mattered in the voice of literature, in the space of literature, they were all white. And just going back onto also me struggling to find a job so much after graduating, is because when I entered the space and I realized how small an industry is, it's very small, it's very white, and none of the people want to retire. So it's very old as well.
So the barrier to entry is
very high. And also, before I started publishing, I didn't know that you could study publishing. I didn't know that books, one of the things I loved so much, could be a thing I made in South Africa. I thought it was something from overseas. So there's like lack of education around the thing. But also, just to go back into the history of the country, a lot of black people, reading culture is something that is seen as nerdy, something that's like coconutish. But that's because a lot of families don't have that time. They don't have the luxury. You know, you have mothers catching buses at 3 a.m. in the morning to go work, and they come back at 8 o'clock at night. No one has time to read. And people talk from privilege, and they say, well, parents should be reading to their children. But really, some parents don't have that time. Yeah. They were never read to. And worse, they don't have the time to read to their children. So it is that thing. And so the lack of role of key players in the publishing sector. So there aren't enough black publishing bodies in the publishing industry. So the distribution channels are all still very white. You know, the boards of many publishing houses are still made up of white people. And so that also then leads to the kind of books that are being published, because publishing is a very subjective field. So if I don't identify with a subject that is being presented to me, I'm not going to publish it. Yeah. So you can imagine that, I mean, we live in the same country, and some things are similar, but lived experiences are different, very different. So if a white publisher is being bombarded with lived experiences that they cannot, because you also need to imagine what you can do with this work. You know, when you publish something, you have to have the insight on what you're going to do with it, where you can go with it, who you can sell it to. So when you can't imagine that already blocks that channel for you. So that's another thing, is that there aren't, and I think a simpler way of answering your question is that there aren't enough publishing practitioners in the country, black publishing practitioners, to take care of the diversity issue.
We spoke of barriers to entry, you know, within the publishing industry. Can you think of a specific instance where, you know, you entered this market and you were shut down or not included along your 2-year journey this far, actually?
When I was still unemployed.
Oh, and also, you know, upon entering with Blackbird Books, I mean, you mentioned it is very niche, it's not inclusive, this type of stories that are told are very controlled based on, you know, who's in control. So, I mean, can you think of any instance where you propose something, or you trying to push out stories that are black stories for that matter, and it was negated or shut down?
When I published Bonnie Henna's Eye Bags and Dimples, which Bonnie Mbuli now back to her maiden surname, when I published that book, I remember pitching that book in an editorial meeting and no one knew who she was. So that was a very clear example, that no one knew who she was in the editorial meeting because I was the only black person in that editorial meeting. So, they literally had to trust me. And I'm very lucky that I landed in a company where they were very happy and very willing to trust that I knew what I was talking about and to trust my instincts. So that helped a lot. But that's another thing, that there's so many people who are not known. When I published Mara Lowe's book recently, the salespeople would come back to me and said they were going into the stores with this book, but the managers didn't know who Mara Lowe was. So if some of these store managers don't know who Mara Lowe is, you can imagine there's a publisher sitting somewhere who doesn't know who Mara Lowe is and who might have rejected that book. So those are like the things that are at play when it comes to the diversity of the literary space.
Upon making your presence known in the publishing industry, today, do you think it's becoming more inclusive? Are people slowly warming up to the idea that by negating the masses, that's an entire market that is unexplored, and that, there's room to obviously publish books, but also profit at the end of the day?
Yeah, so there is a definite shift that I have seen where book sales are concerned. The books that I published when I was still under Jacana, some of them, the genres, especially fiction, that didn't move as well as the fiction that is under Blackbird is moving. So I think the fact that people can put my face to Blackbird has helped a lot. But I think one of the biggest achievements of Blackbird has been that a lot of young black people now see themselves represented. So a lot of young black people can now have started believing that there's being published is a possibility, and it's something that can be done here.
And books, it's a form of art, it's a form of solidifying history, representing history. So
I keep telling people, you can have as many TV shows as you want, but the one way of archiving yourself forever is through books.
Throughout your journey, obviously, you've had quite a strong support base, people who've been there through thick and thin. Can you mention a few names, friends and families who come to mind?
Well, my dad, first of all, because he's such a superhero. You don't hear of many men that raise girls on their own. But I've also been blessed with great, incredible friends. I could sit here and talk about them all day, but there's Moya, there's Mpo, they have just those two, because even to date, even when I don't need as much support as I used to when I was poor, they carry me, they continue to carry me, and I'm very grateful for my friends.
We managed to catch up with a few family and friends, and this is what they had to say about Thabiso.
Thabiso has a lot of energy. I've worked with her for about 12 months now, and every time I see her, every time we work on anything, there's always, energy, and she's always, happy. And that energy then translates to everyone around her and everyone that she's working with. So she's really a lot of fun to work with. And then as a friend, she's very easy to talk to, and I think for me that also translates to the work that she does and the people that she works with.
Thabiso is she's a responsible person. She is very open, and she always shows her true feelings about things, and she's like my go-to person. I don't think it's just me who feels like that, but all her other friends, sisters, family, anyone. So I think she's a very lovely person to be around or to be associated with.
My opinion of Thabiso is that she's a very great person. She has helped me turn my scribbles into a story that people are really relating to right now, that are really appreciating the story that she was able to, she mentored me in changing his scribbles into a book. So I think she's very good at what she does.
I think hard work. She works really hard, and if you're looking at the work that she's done in a very short space of time, and how focused she is when she's, you know, as much as I'm saying that, you know, when she's around, she's large, she's got a lot of energy, but when it's time to get the work done, and it's, you know, she digs in and she does that very well. So I think just being around her, it's easy to pick up on that and learn from just how she deals with everything.
I've learned to forgive through her, because I've like, you know, you come across a lot of people with different characters, and some tempt you to want to do things that are drastic, but she's the one who will always calm me down and talk through about stuff that upset me. So I think the greatest lesson I've learned from her is to forgive.
So the greatest lesson that I learned from Thabiso is that I can always learn a new thing, a new skill that is completely different from the one that I have. Yes, in this case, writing a story is not the same as writing a thesis, for example. So I've learned that you can actually learn completely new way of doing things.
I think almost every moment she works mostly from out of the office. So when she does come in, you can feel that she's in, and you can hear it too. So yeah, it's almost that every time she comes into the office, there'll always be a moment. It's never a dull moment with her. So I can't really think of one now, like one specific one, but yeah, she's just great, really.
When I was in hospital after having my son, and he's 4 now, Thabiso was there. Like she saw it through, you know, because I couldn't exactly do a lot of things then, from changing my son's nappies to making sure he's comfortable and stuff. And she was very clueless with that, you know. She hadn't had her daughter yet, so that was remarkable for me.
My fondest memory of Thabiso was when we decided on the book title. I mean, we sat down around coffee and we played around with different ideas, and we came up with the word unfathered. And that's one of the greatest things that I treasure about my relationship with her, having figured that out together and deciding on what to call the book.
I don't think she's aware that just her energy and how she deals with people and how she treats people around her, I don't think she's aware just how it affects you know, our attitudes, not just about her, but also about how to be in the workplace, and how to, you know, to deal with even business and work challenges. She's being a business person, and how she goes about doing her business. It's very inspiring, and I think she might not know that, but yeah, she has a very big presence, and she affects us in that sense. So for me, I think she makes it easy, pretty much. She makes it easy to work. She makes it easy to deal with challenges, and yeah, so for me, I'm very thankful for that, and working with her, because it helps.
Firstly, I thank her for being in my life for such a long time, and she must just continue being who she is. As true as she is, she must just continue doing that, and remembering why she's where she is today and where she's going.
I would like to thank her for everything that she did for me, for her guidance, for her relentless work in helping me out, and I know that she will be helping a whole lot of other new and upcoming authors. So just to say thank you so much, Thabiso, for everything that you've done for me. I really appreciate it, and all the best in other projects.
Those are some very interesting comments coming from your friends and family. Mpho lives up to her name, Gift, right?
Yes, yeah, she is. She truly is. Keep that gives on giving.
Now, Thabiso, you know, along your journey, obviously you've picked up many pearls of wisdom, for that matter. I mean, what would you like to impart to fellow entrepreneurs, students, you know, those budding entrepreneurs that are out there and really are struggling at this point and want to succeed?
You know, before I knew I'd embark on this entrepreneurial journey, I went to go see Oprah the last time she was here, and she gave a talk here. And one of the things she said, which I live by, is that you must always surround yourself with people who understand your vision, who know what your vision is, who live your vision. Because once you have that around you, everything else is easy. If the minute you have disinterested people around you, you're not going to make anything work. It really just doesn't work. You have to surround yourself with, and don't be too eager to start with big organizations. Often, you know, it's smaller organizations that run better because there's no running around. There's literally, you can scream across the room to a person, get an answer and get back to a client. You know, there's so much value in doing that your clients know that they can get, you know, you're quick on your feet and you can get back to them very quickly. You know, and also just for people that are sitting at home, that are unemployed, that is a hard thing to go through. I know that. But just be willing to do anything. Do anything it takes. You never know who's going to change your life. And I always say, you know, when we go eat out and you see a waitress who's looking very unhappy or very angry, and you know why. That's not the most glamorous job to do. But the thing is, there could be someone in that room who's about to change your life, and you walking around with a sad face. Just show up. That's all you have to do, is show up.
What is your legacy and vision for Blackbird Books and Thabiso?
So one, I want to be able to retire very soon. At age 50, I want to retire to a beach, you know, have champagne, eat carbs. But I also want for my daughter to be able to grow up and have her name referenced to something that is meaningful and that was able to change the country.
Thabiso, thank you very much for your time. We've run out of time, but it's such a pleasure listening to your story and how you continue to inspire. Thank you for serving.
Thank you so much.
Well, there you have it, Thabiso Mahlape, entrepreneur and owner of Blackbird Books. I think a key lesson from this experience is that a strong support structure is vital as you continue to pursue your dream. Now, we welcome your feedback and comments, so do interact with us on our various social media platforms. But from myself, Liesl Wilson, and the rest of the team, it's goodbye for now.